Hello, Steve White, Steve White's 89. Well, I finally caught up with Superman episode 11, which I'm going to finally catch up, and now I hear it's actually going on hiatus again. So it's actually going to be off for another 3 weeks, and then we'll come back with episode 12 after that. So, great. I finally catch up with my weekly show, and it's already over for now. But yeah, so this episode was interesting because I was lost with where it was going to go, because they'd set up this whole Kryptonian army thing and it looked really big and looked like that was the big bad of the season. That's where they were going to go. And then they ended it all in one episode quite quickly. And I'm like, what are they going to do with the last 5 episodes? So I was very curious to see where it would start. Now, it starts off with, and I got a bit confused because I accidentally put the first episode on, which shows how he started off as Superman. And then I realised I was watching the first episode, and I went to the 12th episode, and then it went into the same scenes again. And I'm like, no, this is the right episode. What's happening? Basically, it starts off with Superman becoming Superman, with him growing up in Smallville. We basically get to see his life before Smallville, before the show. And it's interesting because I was kind of hoping to see more of this, because in the first episode we just saw a couple of scenes where he's just saying basically, I'm Superman, this is how I, this is blah blah blah, and we see him, saving the kid from the green car, wearing his original Superman uniform, costume and stuff like that. And those were some nice scenes, and I was like, oh, pity they didn't do. I mean, we can't keep doing his origin story over and over again. We just want to get straight to Superman and Lois and that. But it would have been nice to have seen, a bit more of, how he became Superman. And we do for about half an hour of this episode. Like I said, they show him landing on Krypton. They show him negotiating how to, grow up amongst humans when he's got superpowers. They show him going to the Fortress of Solitude and creating it by throwing the rock down in a little tantrum or something, because I didn't like that part. It's sort of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and he just throws it down and walks off, and then, the Fortress of Solitude springs out from that. He spends quite a bit of time there. When he comes back, Lana is already into Kyle and has a ring, and his mother tries to explain to him, you're away for a long time, he explains how he found out who he is and his planet and everything and what he's meant to be. She shows him the uniform, the costume she made for him. It's all quite sweet, it's all quite nice, and I'm like, well, this is nice, but where is this going? It's like they've just started another season or something. It goes along fairly slowly, not slowly, consistently. We show him leaving Smallville and joining the Daily Planet, meeting Lois, falling in love with her. We see that she is hunting down, or she's actually annoyed that Superman is distracting from a villain who's in the city who's causing problems. He's a guy with a metal mask and a flamethrower, and I don't know, he's obviously a classic DC superhero character, but I have no idea who he is. Eventually, Superman saves Lois from this guy, although, he stops him from frying Lois, and then he stops the guy from throwing grenades at people, and while he's watching Superman catch the grenades, Lois stuns him with a taser, and he sees like a little flicker of something, and I'm like, that looks like a Jor-El hologram or something. Then we sort of forget about that, and then he goes back and we see him just living their life, their relationship. She interviews him on TV, and the producer is trying to say, I think he's into you. And she's like, look, I'm already in love with Clark. He's a dork, but I love him. And he's hearing this for the first time, of course, because she's like, I haven't told him this. And then the producer's like, does he have super hearing? And you're like, oh. So we see the relationship progress and everything. And then there's another moment of like a flickering. He sees something. And then suddenly they're in Lois, the bathroom. Lois is telling him she's pregnant, and then they like switch to getting the scan of the baby, and he's sort of aware that now he's in something, and he's sort of seeing his life over again. We're not actually just seeing him living his life. We're actually aware that he's actually observing and going through his life again. It's about 32 minutes in, I think, where you realise that his brother is basically taking him through his life, and he's like talking about how, the birth of your children is like the most important memory, and Clark is like, don't hurt my children. He's like, I'd never do that. Teenage boys, though. So then he wakes up basically in the Fortress of Solitude, where he collapsed last time, and what was his name? Tal-Or? I can't remember his name. Damn, I meant to write it down. Oops. He's Superman's brother basically went to the Fortress of Solitude and found him while he was passed out, and basically put some object on him, some device, and sifts through his memories. And he basically says, because he had to discover why he betrayed him, why he turned his back, why he attacked his brother. He's like, well, why would you? Because he's been raised very differently. His father basically raised him to be a warrior, to basically to become a Kryptonian and sort of be sort of this leader. He trains him to take pain, and he's like, you have to find the Eradicator, and he's got like a task and a job, and he's basically raising him like he's a member of an army or something. So he basically is like, well, I had to see why you turned your back on us. And he's like, you did it for the love of a human, for a human family? Really? So he's like, well, I'm going to destroy them. And he's like, no. He's like begging him no. And he's like, look, I won't do it if you submit to me and you basically do what I say. And he's like, okay. This happens in front of Lois and the kids, though. Basically, Lois and the kids are... because it switches to Lana talking to Kyle, and he's sort of talking about his recovery and just trying to, decompress everything that happened. The kids are talking about how the town looks like a war zone, and Kyle apologizes to Lois, and Lois and the kids go home. Sarah and what's the superpowers? I get the names confused. Jonathan and Jordan. Basically, they kiss, they go home, he's got a girlfriend, blah, 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 they're talking. And then Uncle Morgan shows up, and he's like, well, you know what? I'm going to kill you. I think he basically says, I'm going to let you kids live long enough to watch me kill your mother. And the one with superpowers steps up and gets knocked down. He tries to shoot him with his laser eyes, but he gets knocked down. And Lois is facing her fate, and Superman appears. He's weak, but he's at least stops that from happening. And he's like, "Wow, I'm impressed, Kal-El, but it doesn't change anything." And he says, "Look, I'll submit. Just spare my family." And he says, "Okay, if you agree to follow me, I will not kill them." And he's like, okay, so they leave, and Lois is like, don't do this. And they leave, they go to his Fortress of Solitude, which he built in the desert, although he seemed to know what he was doing. And they start, the father sort of judges Clark and says basically he's weak, and they start conditioning him, I guess, like he was conditioned to be a soldier. And Lois goes home and calls somebody, because my internet crapped out at that point, and I couldn't get it to replay like 2 seconds of the episode. And Lois picks up the phone, calls someone, says, I think Red Dawn or whatever is happening, I think Superman's turned. You were right, basically. And then it shows a picture of Superman looking up at the father, and his eyes are glowing red. So whether he's being turned and he's evil, whether he's just angry. But yeah, so I guess we're actually going to have the big story now is going to be Clark turning, or whether he turns, or whether there is another version of that story in this reality where Superman turns. Obviously, he turned to save Lois. I can't imagine he's going to kill Lois, so I don't know how it went in that universe, and I'm not sure how it's going to go in this universe, but it kind of looks interesting. I really didn't know where they were going to go with this, and this looks like where they're going to go. It's very much... I thought it was going to be about, the brother trying to kill Clark's family and him defending them, and because he was saying, I'm basically going to reveal that who your family is, I'm going to kill them, blah, blah, one or the other. He was just threatening everything that, Clark was most afraid of or vulnerable about. And I guess the next couple of episodes is going to be him trying to turn him or him turning him and them trying to save him. So I guess that's a little bit more interesting than a Kryptonian army, but this could have been the second season. And they could have had the Kryptonian episode be the Kryptonian story be the end of this season. So I don't know why. I feel like they wasted that story on this. It was just one episode. It could have been the end of the series, and they could have done this. This could have been the second season. So I'm a little bit. They'd better have something good for the second and third and fourth series. They're better in planning stuff and not just throwing everything out there to try and sort of get through the first season, which some shows do, and they wind up with nothing for the second and third season. But I guess they've got so many stories from the comics, so I guess they've got plenty of things to call on. So I don't know. I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Do you think this is a good direction? I'm happy with it. Like, it was. I really liked at first that they were going back. I kept doing this. I say goodbye and then I find something to talk about. I liked that they went back and showed it, and I liked that they distracted us. I liked they kind of tricked us. I liked that I didn't know where it was going. I like that I don't know what's happening. It's nice to be surprised. I'm never surprised with Star Trek and some of the other shows that I watch. You know where they're going. You know what's happening. This one is keeping me on my toes. I like it. So I'm looking forward, but I'm not happy with another 3 weeks. We had like this big hiatus and I missed the episodes. I got out of like practice. I wasn't used to watching. So I just got behind, and then I caught up, and then I was already 2 episodes behind again because I forgot that it was starting up again. Then I caught up. I just watched this episode today. It came out today or yesterday, and now I've got to wait 3 weeks for the next one. But at least it's worth waiting for. So let's begin waiting. Bye.